Violence in Manipur has completed 3 months today, even as reports of fresh protests and firing are coming in from Kangpokpi district, and protests have erupted since midnight in the heart of Kangpokpi town, with protesters, mostly women folk, protesting against the reported withdrawal of Assam Rifles personnel from a few places in Kangpokpi district. Northeast Live is trying to ascertain the details and speak to defense sources on the matter. A large number of protesters also gathered at National Highway number 2, burning tires and even blocking the highway. Hundreds of protesters took to streets shouting slogans such as "Assam Rifles don't leave us, Assam Rifles we need you." And we are being joined on the phone line by our editor-in-chief, Wasbir Hussain, for more on this. Well, Wasbir, it's been 3 months today since violence erupted in Manipur, but at the same time, there have been fresh reports of violence and protests and firing in Kangpokpi district. Mostly women folk, they have been protesting in the heart of Kangpokpi town since midnight. So what more inputs you have? Your take on that, Wasbir?
Well, first of all, the point is that today marks the completion of 90 days of the violence in Manipur. It has been 3 months since violence began in Manipur on the 3rd of May. And during these last 3 months, there has been a lot of violence in the state. The violence has been of such magnitude that one has to see to believe what has been happening in Manipur in the past 90 days. More than 150 people have lost their lives. Hundreds of villages have been burned. Around 50,000 people have been uprooted from their homes. People have been displaced from one place to another. People have been displaced from homes they have been living in for decades. Some of them even ever since they were born. So this is a violence that had a huge impact on the lives of people, whether it is in the hills or whether it is in the valley. People have been displaced to places far and near from the homes where they grew up, the homes they would call their own. These homes no longer exist. They have been burnt and razed to the ground. Their property have been looted. So this is something which is unprecedented as far as Manipur is concerned. And no wonder the Supreme Court has also come up with sharp comments on the state of affairs in Manipur. And the Supreme Court has said there was absolutely no law and order. It was a failure. And the Supreme Court has also criticized the state Manipur police for not taking timely action. They've called the Manipur police absolutely lethargic, and so on and so forth. And then they said that the Supreme Court is now thinking of appointing a committee of High Court judges for a broad view of the issue that had taken place in the last 90 days. So this is the situation over the last 90 days. Life completely coming to a grinding halt. Education of the children completely disrupted. Medical facilities taking a hit. Infrastructure projects taking a hit. People losing their homes, losing their loved ones. We don't know what compensation is the government planning. We don't know what is the update on the rehabilitation of these people. We also don't know what is the government's plan as far as rehabilitation of the people are concerned. We also don't have any update on the completion, on the level of construction, on what stage is the construction of the so-called houses for the displaced people, whether those houses can meet the requirements of the respective families who have lost their homes and near and dear ones. We don't have this information because the government has been very miserly as far as coming out with information is concerned. The government, particularly the government in Manipur, have been extremely miserly in giving out information on the situation. When we don't get any information on the law and order update, how can you get information on the rehabilitation efforts, on the relief efforts, on the educational efforts, what the government is thinking? So these are something which the government would not like to speak, at least the government in Manipur. That is the reason why the Supreme Court has come up with such strong comments while hearing from the bunch of petitions as far as Manipur is concerned. Yes, even after completion of the 90 days, there are two developments that are taking place today. If we talk about today, there is a protest going on in Kangpokpi, in the heart of Kangpokpi town since last night. Hundreds of women are out on the streets blocking National Highway 2, burning tires. They are protesting against the reported withdrawal of Assam Rifles from a few places along the buffer zone in Kangpokpi district. So they don't want the Assam Rifles to leave. And amid this protest, there are also unconfirmed reports going on that there are some kind of firing along the border, like it used to be in the last 90 days. So this is one development. There is a lot of protest going on in Kangpokpi district. And as far as 𝗟𝗓𝗏, another hill district is concerned, there was a plan to have a mass burial of those killed during the violence, and so many of these bodies are still being kept at the morgue. There was a plan to have a mass burial. Some of the people opposed to this mass burial. There was report coming in the morning that the mass burial has been cancelled. Now once again report coming in that the mass burial is going to take place. We don't know. So these are details we'll have to wait and watch as the day unfolds. But yes, it is also true that the organizations like some of the local civil society organizations are planning to observe a commemoration day to remember those killed during course of the violence. On the whole, a lot of answers need to come from the government of Manipur.
Right, Wasbir, very quickly, I would just like to mention here that even you mentioned right now that even after 90 days, violence is still there in Manipur and normalcy still seems like a far cry. But also, Wasbir, we have exclusive visuals where we can see that the women folk who had gathered to protest, they were actually pleading the Assam Rifles not to leave them, that they need the help of the Assam Rifles. Now, that clearly shows, Wasbir, the kind of trauma and the kind of uncertainty and fear they have in their minds.
Yes, this is a very interesting development that we have seen. These are exclusive visuals that you can see on the screen. Women in the hills of Manipur, particularly these visuals are from Kangpokpi district. These women are pleading with the Assam Rifles troopers not to leave them because they fear that they might be attacked if the Assam Rifles leave. On the other hand, the Assam Rifles are a subject of criticism as far as the valley areas is concerned. Assam Rifles are also facing allegations and counter-allegations. While they are welcome in the hills, they are not welcome in the valley. They think, the valley people think that the Assam Rifles is pro-hill people. So these are the violent narrative. These are the narratives that we have seen in the past 90 days of the violence. On the whole, the situation continues to remain volatile in Manipur.